So let us continue the discussion on the topic PGBP further. Till now what we have covered, we have learned that under section 28 income is taxable under the head PGBP. So first of all, to be taxed under the head PGBP, my income must be covered. The income must be covered under section 28. Only then I will proceed with PGBP, otherwise not. Then section 29 tells me the way of computing the PGBP income, how numerically we can compute the income. Then section 30 to 35 tells me those expenses which are specific. Specific means these expenses are having their own identity, own theoretical condition, own calculation requirement, which can be different from the calculation you might be doing while following accounting standards. Just like depreciation is the example which is most common and is used everywhere, because calculation of depreciation is different as per accounting standards, but it is different under the Income Tax Act as per section 32. Then we have section 36 also, which tells us those expenses which are specific, having their own identity, but not much calculation is required, but those are also deductible. Other than these expenses which are specific, which are having their own identity, there may be thousands and lakhs of expenses in any business or profession. All those expenses can also be deducted if they satisfy the conditions of section 37 subsection 1. These sections, these three category of sections are dealing with the expenses which you can show on the debit side of profit and loss account when you are computing your income from business or profession. But out of the expenses which are covered under these categories, some expenses might be in a there are some expenses for which some additional provisions are also required to be satisfied before you deduct those. Those additional provisions are mentioned in section 40 clause A as well as clause B. There are two clauses of section 40, clause A, clause B. I have discussed for the time being clause A only because my clause B is applicable only and only when the assessee is a partnership firm. So I will discuss clause B later on. Then we have section 40 capital A and then we have section 43B. And do remember, under these three sections, which gives me some additional conditions to be satisfied, these sections are 40 clause A, 40 clause B, 40 capital A and 43B. I will check for these sections only when I have passed my first stage, and my first stage is the expenses which are allowed as deduction under section 30 to 35, 36 or 37. Only then I will reach at this stage of 40 clause A, clause B, 40 capital A or 43B. And then I discussed some theoretical sections, 44 AA, AB and 41. Do you remember this much what I have discussed with you right now? If you remember this structure, please raise your hands. Okay, now let me discuss with you three relevant sections of PGBP, section 44AD, 44AE and 44F. These sections are basically known as presumptive taxation sections. Presumptive, as the name suggests, presumptive, where on assumption base we can compute the income directly. Middle businessmen, or you can say small businessmen, do not know much about these complications of income tax act. They don't want to hire any accountant or any expert to tell them which expenses are allowed or not. So for these people, we have this presumptive taxation. Under these sections, rather than going into the complexity of computing the expense, whether that is allowed or not, and if allowed, how much to be allowed, directly Income Tax Act gives you these three sections, 44AD, 44AE and 44ADA. You check under which section you are covered. Under these sections, what happens normally? Like I tell you briefly, what is 44AD? Under 44AD, what is mentioned is that whatever is your sales, if my sale is 100 rupees, then income tax Act say we directly allow you 92% of that sale as an expenditure, and only remaining 8% you can show as your business income. That's it. Because normally in any business or a business which is a genuine business, 10 to 20% profit margin comes. Of course, in some businesses there can be 100% margin also, 1000% margin also. But as a businessman, normally 10 to 15 or 20% net profit margin comes. This simplified provision 44AD says that whatever is your sale, of course it comes with so many conditions also, that my sales should not exceed 2 crore per year. So that I will tell you later on. In your mind, for the timing, I want to send a signal basically that your mind should think that what we are going to study now. That if in my business my sale is 100 rupees, only 8% I can directly show as PGBP income. That's it. Indirectly, that 92% of the sale is allowable expenditure because of the provision of Income Tax Act as per section 44AD. So this is simplified provision. You are not supposed to prepare any account then. If you are willing to show 8% of your sales as your PGBP income, then directly you can apply section 44AD. Of course, you need to satisfy conditions of section 44AD also. But numerically, this is what section 44AD, sales multiplied by 8%, that's it. Further, if your sales receipts are through proper banking channel, account pay check, account pay DD, online banking, where department can trace the transactions also, then department says only 6% of the sales you can take as PGBP income. If I'm doing my sales only through online banking channel, then if 100 is my sale into 6%, I can simply show 6 rupees if my sale is 100 as PGBP income. Remaining 94% practically is what? Allowable expenditure. Is this clear? Is this presumptive taxation concept clear? If yes, please raise your hands. If not clear, you are under no obligation to raise the hands. You have a right to ask the question directly at this forum itself. Never hesitate in asking any question from anyone.
Sir, say like I have a profit margin of let's say only 4% or 5%. Then I need to submit the proofs to get that much profit, like to pay tax on that much profit only.
That means if I think that my profit is below even 6% of sale, then you don't apply this 4480. Then that is not applicable for you.
Thank you.
And then you have to follow the normal provisions. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now let me first show you the act, and then I will simplify the provisions for you. I hope the screen is visible, and then let me show you these sections. This is a section 44AD. Okay, this 44AD. Special provision for computing profits and gains of business on presumptive basis. Then you have 44ADA, special provisions for computing profits and gains of profession. Now 44AD covers business, 44ADA covers profession on presumptive basis. 44AE, special provision for computing profits and gains of business or flying, hiring of leasing goods carriages. So in case of transporting business, the business houses who are into transport sector, where they are dealing in transportation industry, that they have the trucks and where they are getting charges just like freight, or you can say freight charges, to carry goods of one party at some destination. So goods carriage, of course it comes with condition that I should not be having more than 10 trucks, etc., etc. But these three sections we have to do, that's it. After this our chapter will be over, and then we will do some practice of solving the cases of PGBP. Let us click 44AD. Now see what is written. It is not so lengthy, but you must understand how to read the act. I could have directly told you the provision, but that is not the purpose of higher education at any government educational institution. The purpose basically is to train the students where they can read themselves in future. The purpose is not to make sure that you get good marks in the examination only. That is not the only purpose. Special provision for computing profits and gains of business on presumptive basis, section 44AD subsection 1. Notwithstanding anything to the contrary contained in sections 28 to 43C. Even if something opposite is written in these sections, what section 44AD subsection 1 says is final. In the case of an eligible assessee, so I need to ask a question to myself, what do I mean by eligible assessee? Only assessee what is not written, eligible assessee. Engaged in an eligible business. So I need to ask another question to myself, what is this eligible business? A sum equal to 8%, which I have just told you, 8% of the total turnover or gross receipts of the assessee in the previous year on account of such business, or as the case may be, a sum higher than the aforesaid sum claimed to have been earned by the eligible assessee. Now minimum is 8%, but if someone says that my profits are 12%, then government says no issue. If you are willing to show 12% of your sales, then it doesn't mean that you need to follow normal provision. If you are satisfying other conditions, higher percentage, if you yourself are willing to show, then there is no problem. You can still opt for 44AD. 44AD doesn't say that flat 80%. It says 8% or any percentage which is higher than 8%. You can claim 44AD. You are not supposed to prepare much documents, etc. Flat, easy computation, sales multiplied by that percentage, but the percentage must not be less than 8%. Shall be deemed to be the profits and gains of such business chargeable to tax under the head profits and gains of business or profession. Provided, but this section has an exception, provided that this subsection shall have effect as if for the words 8%, the words 6% had been substituted. So in some cases, in subsection 1, wherever 8% is written, you read it as 6%. And what are those cases? In respect of the amount of total turnover of gross receipt which is received by an account pay check or an account pay DD or use of electronic clearing system through a bank account or through such other electronic mode as may be prescribed during the previous year or before the due date specified in subsection 1 of section 139 in respect of that previous year. Like if my previous year is 2021 and if my total sales are 80 lakh rupees, suppose my total sales are 80 lakh rupees, out of 80 lakh, whatever I have received in my bank account either till 31st March 21 or till due date of my filing return of income, on that much of sale I can multiply it by, that much of sale can be multiplied by 6%, and that will be my PGBP. Remaining sale which is beyond, which is earned through cash mode, that sale multiplied by 8% plus sale which is through banking channel multiplied by 6%. This will give me taxable income under the head profits and gains of business or profession. Please raise your hand if you have understood this language. It is not tough. You have to start now coming into the habit of reading from the act, and not only income tax act, whenever you study any legal document. Please raise your hand if the point is clear. Next subsection. Can anyone explain what next subsection says? Can you explain what subsection 2 is telling me? How do you explain subsection 2 to any other person who will ask this? You read it and try to tell me what this subsection 2 wants to convey. What this section wants to convey: any deduction allowable under the provisions of sections 30 to 38 shall, for the purposes of subsection 1, be deemed to have been already given full effect to, and no further deduction under those sections shall be allowed. That means when you applied subsection 1, where you have computed 8% or 6%, out of 100% turnover, you took income business as 8 or 6 depending upon whether the sale is cash or non-cash. So then from that 8% or 6%, don't come and ask for other deductions of these sections, because by default we will assume that you have claimed all earlier deductions. So nothing is now left to be deducted. That 8 or 6 is final. Please raise your hand if this point is clear. Next point. Can you explain me this subsection 4? It might look a little bit technical, but it's very easy. Read it and try to explain this subsection 4. Anyone who can try to simplify this provision of the act? Where an eligible assessee declares profit for any previous year in accordance with the provisions of this section, and he declares profit for any of the 5 assessment years relevant to the previous year succeeding such previous year, not in accordance with the provisions of subsection 1. Can you simplify these 2.5 lines? Can you make an attempt to simplify these 2.5 lines? Read it slowly and then try to tell me with the help of any example. You must try it, otherwise you will never learn.
Can I try, sir?
Yeah, of course, no one is stopping you.
Sir, like it is said that the eligible SSC must, if SSC follow this provision once in a while in its time, so he has to follow it in succeeding 5 year also.
Like for example, if this previous year 2021 is the year in which I want to follow provision of section 44 AD, then
then he has to follow the 44 AD for succeeding 5 year also till I
Yes.
think
Yes. If in the previous year 2021, I am following the provisions of 44 AD, then for the next 5 years, 21 22, 22 23, 23 24, 24 25, and 25 26, in these 5 years I have to follow 44 AD. Yes, but if I failed in doing so, it says if I have not done so, if I have not followed, if previous year 2021 is the year in which I have followed 44 AD, but I failed to follow 44 AD in any of the next 5 years, then in the year in which I have failed in following 44 AD, he shall not be eligible to claim the benefit of the provision of this section for 5 assessment years subsequent to the assessment year relevant to the previous year in which the profit has not been declared in accordance with the provisions of subsection 1. Let me simplify this point now. What basically it says? What basically it says? I hope it is clear now. It is visible. The screen is visible. So what it says? Suppose in the previous year 2021, I have applied 44 AD. The next 5 years, 21 22, 22 23, 23 24, and 24 25, and 25 26. In these years, I have to compulsory follow 44 AD. I have no choice. I have to follow 44 AD. But if I fails, suppose in this year, here I followed 44 AD, no problem. In this year I followed 44 AD, no problem. This year I followed 44 AD, no problem. In this previous year, or suppose in this previous year also I followed 44 AD, no problem. But in the last year of my lock-in period, I have not followed. I followed normal provisions. I followed normal provisions. I have not followed 44 AD. I followed normal provision. Then in the next 5 years, previous year 6 7, 7 8, 8 9, 9 10, and 10 11, then in these years I cannot opt for 44 AD. I have no choice then in the next year. So the year in which you fail to follow 44 AD, then in the next 5 years, don't ask for 44 AD, then that will not be applicable for you. Please raise your hand. I understood this point. Okay. Then subsection 6. The provisions of this section, notwithstanding anything contained in the foregoing provisions. Foregoing provisions means it does not matter what previous sections or previous provisions of this section says. It does not matter what is mentioned in the previous subsections of this section. shall not apply to. That means it does not matter what is mentioned in section 44, AD subsection 1, AD subsection 2, AD subsection 3, AD subsection 4, AD subsection 5. What 44 AD subsection 6 says is final. That who cannot claim the benefit of 44 AD? Anyone who is doing notified profession, which is mentioned in 44 AA subsection 1. I showed this in the last class, like medical, legal, accountants, interior designers, etc. These are notified professions. Artist, person who is earning the business income from commission or brokerage. Because when you are earning the income from commission or brokerage, you don't have much expenditure. Your entire income is PGBP income. Because if I am earning something from commission and it is my income, if 100 is my receipt, 100 becomes my income. Or maximum you are having 2 to 3 or 4% of the expenditure. That's it. Otherwise, majority is income itself. So in those cases, government doesn't give the benefit of presumptive taxation and agency business. These are eligible assesses, etc., etc. Now leave it and let us now simplify the provision. So now you can note down the points which I will write now for simplicity. The purpose is to show you the act so that you start learning yourself. Find time to read the act. If not, right now you have the time. In your vacations, you will be having the time. Try to read some good acts like General Clauses Act. You should try to read. Constitution of India. You should try to read. Indian Penal Code. You should try to read. CRPC. You should try to read. These are good acts. So try to read. Anyhow, so let us now technically start our discussion of today with section 44 AD. So only you can write these points. It will help you in learning 44 AD. Special provisions for computing. And do remember 44 AD doesn't compute total income. It only computes PGBP income. If I have applied 44 AD, then that is only on my PGBP income. My salary income, house property income, capital gain, other sources will not be affected by this 44 AD. It only affects PGBP, that's it. Special provisions to compute PGBP income. Special provisions to compute PGBP income on presumptive basis. So you please note down only those points which I will tell you. First is conditions to be applied or conditions to be satisfied. Resident individual, person must be a resident. Resident individual, resident HUF or resident partnership firm. Any of these assesses can be there. Not claimed any deduction. This resident person has not claimed any deduction under section 10 AA. I'm writing only relevant ones. 80 IAC, 80 IBA, income based deductions are 80 QQB. These are income based deductions. These 80 are only income based. When you earn the income, only then you can claim it. 80 RRB, 80 TTA and 80 TTB in the relevant previous year. That's it. These all are income based deductions. Otherwise, section 80 is not income based. When you deposit something, you get 80C. ATG donation based. When you donate something, you get ATG, but all these are income based deductions. And third and fourth point, the gross receipt of total turnover. In the business does not exceed ₹2 crore in the relevant previous year, whatever is their previous year, and the business, the assessee is not engaged in the business, applying, hiring, or leasing goods carriage. Which are covered under 44A, because for this business we have a special section which are covered under section 44A. That is why we should not use for such businesses, even if I'm a resident individual, even if my turnover does not exceed 2 crore, but if I'm into the business of applying, hiring, or leasing goods carriage, and if I'm covered under 44A, then I cannot apply 44AD. These are the 4 conditions to be satisfied before applying for 44AD. Next point. How much is income taxable? Income under the Act PGBP will be 8%, is equal to 8% of whatever is this gross receipt or total turnover. 8% of gross receipts oblique total turnover. Okay, and if this 8% becomes 6% in case of that much amount of gross receipt, that much amount of gross receipts oblique total turnover which has been received through banking channel precisely. During the previous year, or even if not during the previous year, or till due date of furnishing return of income. Next point, you can declare higher income if you want. Higher income can be declared, there is no problem, but lower you cannot declare under 44AD. Higher income can be declared if assessee wants. Like Arman was asking the doubt that if I want to declare 4% profit margin, then government says or Act says, then don't apply 44AD, you follow the normal provision. If assessee wants higher income, there is no limit. Fourth, it is optional section. No one is making it compulsory. It's the optional section. If you want to apply it, you apply it. If you want to follow normal provision, you follow it. No problem. No further deduction is allowed. No further deduction is allowed from this percentage. And in this, I'm writing a note that when you will compute the income of partnership firm, Right now we have not yet covered the income of partnership firm, but when we will compute the income of partnership firm, the firm also cannot claim interest paid to partners or remuneration paid to partners. If I say no deduction, it means no further deduction. Nothing is deductible now. Even if remuneration is paid to partners, not allowed. No deduction is no deduction. That's it. I can show you the slide later on if you want. Consequences if 44 AD is not applied for next 5 years. That I have explained to you with the help of the example. Suppose in the previous year 2021 I applied 44 AD, then for the next 5 years, this year is of course the year in which 44 AD is applied. Other than this year, next 5 years, you have to apply. There is no choice. You have to apply. You have to follow 44 AD. If you fail to follow 44 AD in any of the years in the next 5 years, then the year in which you fail to follow plus next 5 years, in those years you can never follow 44 AD. So 1 year is that in which you failed plus next 5 years of the year in which you failed. In these years 44 AD will not be available to you then. Non-applicability. Now when this section cannot be applied, not applicable, or you cannot apply this section when you are into the business of commission or brokerage, agency business, when you are in a notified profession as per 44AA, notified profession as per section 44AA. Why these notified professions are included? Because for these notified professions, we already have another presumptive section 44 ADA. Already we have this. Okay, that is why I'm excluding this profession in 44 AD, because for this notified profession, already we have a special section 44 ADA. Let us discuss a small numerical from my book. Now you want to see the previous slide or shall I proceed? Please raise your hands. I will discuss a numerical now with you. If you want me to proceed, please raise your hands.
If you can,
Yeah.
About the years 28 slide.
Is this
The previous one?
This one?
20 slide, sir. Uh, 28. The previous one.
Okay.
Sir, let's say I do follow 44 AD till 25-26. That don't follow it in 26-27. This is the name. 5 years I have followed to 44 AD. Will I be eligible to follow 44 AD from 27-28 then? Because in this case, the Act's language, it will become a recurring provision. Like I have to follow it every consecutive year if I want to follow it for, let's say, 5-6 years.
Okay, let me see. Let me read it. Yeah, when you read the language of the act, it seems that it becomes a recurring provision, but in that case, the purpose of this point will be defeated then. Is the point clear? It seems to be a recurring provision that every year will become the year in which you are applying 4480, then next 5 years starts from that year. But then in that case, the purpose of this point would be defeated. The intention of the legislature seems to be what? Because so many times when there is a conflict, then intention of legislature comes into picture. So intention of legislature means the people who have framed the law, the parliament is supreme. So intention of legislature, whenever any such confusion comes, the intention of legislature seems to be that in the year in which first time you followed the provision, then for the next 5 years you follow it. And after 5 years, then you will be free to unfollow 44 AD. So intention becomes supreme here rather than the exact word to word. Because if such case would go to the Supreme Court, and whenever there is any conflict, Honorable Supreme Court also goes by the intention of the legislature. That what would have been the intention when that provision was framed. Like in the Keshav Nanda Bharti case, if you have read that most prominent case where the Supreme Court has said that Parliament cannot even amend through even constitutional amendment the basic structure of the Indian Constitution. So in those, when you read those acts, you will find the languages of the Honorable Supreme Court also in such a way that they go by the intention when other things come forward which defeats the intention of the legislature when the act was framed or the constitution was framed. So intention becomes supreme. So I understood your doubt and it is also very well taken, but my view is also that intention of the legislature was that next 5 years you freeze it, then from the 6th year onwards let the SSC become free to adopt 4480 or not, no penalty.
Thanks.
Is the point clear, Arman?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now let us discuss one numerical. So you note down this numerical. I will help you in noting down this numerical in a simplified language. I'm attempting a numerical from my book.
Excuse me, sir.
6.38. Yes.
So you are not sharing the screen, I guess.
Okay. Okay, so let me discuss this small case. Now, Assassi is a firm, okay, and resident business, utensil business, utensils, sales of previous year 2021 is 90 lakhs, out of which 80 lakh through check, 10 lakh might be in cash. Now what records he has given that sales 90 lakh and less expenses. He has given expenses as follow. The detail of expenses as follow: material 10 lakh, salary 56 lakh, Depreciation 15 lakh. Under section 32, I have computed the depreciation, that is 15 lakh. And salary and interest to partners, or you can say salary to partners. After applying the provisions of 44, after checking the provision of section 40 clause B, this much is valid salary and that is allowed. Section, as I told you, section 40 talks about disallowed things. What is disallowed? So in section 40 clause B, it is written in the act, when I will tell you later on, that how much salary is allowed as deduction in the hands of partnership firm. So this is the P&L account technically of partnership firm, that this firm can pay this 5 lakh as salary. This is valid. Beyond 5 lakh, salary to the partners cannot be paid. So this question is directly telling you the amount that 5 lakh is the valid salary the firm can pay to the partners as per the provisions of Income Tax Act. And the net profit comes out to be 4 lakh. This is PGBP income of the firm. This is firm's PGBP income. This is given in my question. Now, as a tax consultant, suppose you are a tax consultant and your advice is required that this firm is earning short-term capital gain also of 3 lakh. That's it. And suppose there is no additional depreciation. Suppose in this question there is no additional depreciation is allowed. Now, your advice is required. Now, can you tell me how will you proceed in giving the advice? Because now you have the knowledge of section 4480. So what will be your advice? Advice is what? As a tax consultant, if someone has come to you, then of course that person wants to minimize the tax liability. So your main working is what? So how do you solve it? That you will compute the total income. You have to compute total income. Of firm for the assessment year 2021-22. Let us compute the income of firm. Now, when I will compute the income, here I will be having some confusion, or not confusion. I need to do some extra work. What is that as extra work? That PGBP income of the firm should be taken as 4 lakh or what? So I will apply provision 44 AD also. Apply 44 AD in the working note. Because my normal PGBP income is what? 4 lakh. And is this normal? Correct? That also I need to check. Sales, yes. Material, yes, allowed under PGBP. Salary to employees is allowed, there is no problem. Depreciation under section 32 is allowed as per the provisions of Income Tax Act, no problem. Salary to partners fulfilling the conditions of section 40 clause B is allowed. So whatever these figures are given, I have first checked that these figures are 100% correct as per the provisions of IT Act. There is no problem. These figures are 100% correct as per the provisions of IT Act. This is my first task. Sometimes this figure can also be wrong. Suppose they will say that depreciation as per accounting standard is given. As per accounting standard, depreciation is given. So you will compute depreciation yourself as per section 32. Now this is normal provision. But normal means valid provision of IT Act. This is normal provision of Income Tax Act. Normal provision doesn't mean that I will write something which is beyond Income Tax Act. If depreciation is written in the bracket, I have written that section 32. That means this normal provision is following all the applicable provisions of PGBP. So now this first option I have, that I can show my PGBP income as 4 lakh. Second option I will see now, 44 AD. Is 44 AD applicable? Yes. Because partnership firm, resident, eligible business, Utensil business, no problem. It's not commission, brokerage, etc. So it is eligible business. Turnover less than 2 crore. That means I can apply 44 AD. So if you apply 44 AD, how much PGBP you will show? 8% into 10 lakh plus 6% into 80 lakh. Because with banking sale, I'll be having 6%, and without banking, I'll be having 8%. This is my PGBP as per section 44 AD. So it becomes 4 lakh 80 plus 80,000. It becomes 560. So if I will apply 44 AD, I will show PGBP as 560 plus next 5 years. I cannot forget that I have to follow compulsory 44 AD. And right now, if by normal provision I am having my income as 4 lakh PGBP, so here I will recommend as a tax consultant that don't apply 44 AD, you apply normal provision, because the normal provision is showing your income less than the income which you will get when you apply special provision. So I will go by 4 lakh. So whenever you get any question of PGBP, don't forget to apply 44 AD. No one is going to tell you in the examination that apply 44 AD. That you have to check yourself whether application of 44 AD gives you less income or non-application of 44 AD gives you less income. Being in tax, our job is to make sure that they honestly, not by following any evasion or avoidance, honestly, which option shows me less income for the purpose of paying tax. Is this point clear? The question is not complete, but is this point clear that what I wanted to show you? I have shown the applicability of 44 AD here. Please raise your hand if this point is clear. Okay. Next point. Now, once you have your PGBP income now, then you add other incomes. So in other income, I have only short-term capital gain, 3 lakh. Gross total income, 7 lakh. Less deductions under section 80, nil. And the total income is 7 lakh. That's it. This is what my question was. So my advice was that don't follow 44 AD. The question is over. In case you have any problem, you please ask me. Otherwise, we will proceed to the next section, 44 ADA.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Which section allowed material expense as a deductible while calculating PGBP?
Section 37, subsection 1 is a residuary section. If nothing is mentioned in other sections, 37(1) allows most of the expenses or almost every expense which is of business expense.
Okay, sir.
Please raise your hand if the point is clear. Okay. Next point, 44 ADA. Next section, 44 ADA. Now, so we have covered section 44 AD. Let us start now with section 44 ADA. Now, in business, my expenses are more as compared to when I'm in a profession. Now I am a teacher. What expenses I am incurring? Maximum what expenses I can be having? I can have some place on rent. I can have this laptop. I can have the books, etc. That's it. A doctor who is having private clinic, what maximum expenditure he or she can be having? The rent of the clinic, some electricity charges, 1 or 2 compounder, 1 or 2 nurse. That's it. So what expense an artist is having? Suppose you are a singer. What expense you are having? You go and charge 5 lakh rupees to perform in any concert. What expenditure you have incurred basically? Almost negligible. You can be having some expenses for your dress, etc., but almost negligible. Because when the work involved is of mind only, in profession, in doctors, artists, singers, they take consultancy charges, or they take their professional charges. So in that case, you cannot apply 44AD, because if you apply 44AD, what you will say that only 8% of your receipt is the income and 92% is expenditure. But in reality, in a profession, you can never be having 92% approximately of your receipt as your expenditure. So 4480 practically is not relevant. But this is that area where huge tax evasion can come. Huge tax evasion is possible, and it must be happening even today also. You can take the example from your daily life. If you visit any doctor, how many of you ask for the receipt? Most of us do not ask for the receipt. Most of us. We ask for the receipt. I ask for the receipt because I can claim the reimbursement from my office. But if someone cannot claim any reimbursement from the office, that person would not be bothered about having that receipt. So there is a strong possibility. I'm not saying that it happens everywhere, but there is a strong possibility if that concerned medical practitioner wants, that entire money can become a black money. It is not so easy for the department to trace that amount, how much this medical practitioners has earned in one day by private practice. So almost it is difficult to trace such transactions, such professionals, where it is practically not possible to trace each and everything. So in that case, department has become dependent on the honesty of these professionals. And for those professionals, we have 44ADA, where Act says that whatever you received into 50% is your income, remaining 50% we allow as expenditure. In reality, my expenditure are much less than this 50% limit which they are allowing. But still department says 50% flat you can treat as your expenditure, only 50% you show as your professional income. Though in spite of this, still this section has not gained much, because every professional thinks that if I can evade 90% of my receipt, why will I even pay 50%? Is the point clear? If yes, please raise your hands. Okay. But still we have a legal provision. If someone is honest and want to pay the tax regularly, then that professional has this benefit, that whatever receipt that person has earned, into flat 50% is his or her professional income, remaining 50% he or she is not supposed to show as income. That is allowed practically as an expenditure. So let me first show you the provision, or you please start writing what 44ADA is in simplified version. Now since I have shown you the act for 44AD, you can now easily read 44ADA. It is much easier than 44AD. So write some basics of 44ADA and then I will discuss one numerical with you. (44ADA). Special provision or special section to compute income from profession. Special provision. Special provisions to compute income from profession on presumptive basis. Now again, first point, conditions which must be satisfied. Conditions. Resident individual or resident partnership firm. Or resident partnership firm. This is my condition number A. B point. I am engaged in notified profession. Legal, interior designer, decorators, artists, singers, accountants, medical practitioners, notified professions under section 44AA. In this section, the name of these notified professions are written. Around 10 or 11 main names are written. And my receipt does not exceed 50 lakh. It is not for every professional. My receipt does not exceed 50 lakhs during the previous year. If this is the case, I can apply 44ADA, and if I apply 44ADA, flat I can show as, so what will be my income? My PGBP income should be taken as flat, 50% of receipt. That's it, flat 50% of receipt. Indirectly, I can say remaining 50% is allowed as valid expense. In reality, if you follow normal provision, you will never be in a position to claim that 50% as an expenditure, because in a professional, in case of profession, you have very less expenditure actually. Third point, higher income. If I want to declare, there is no choice. If assessee want to declare higher income, if assessee wants, no problem. Can declare. Higher income is I want 70% of receipts as PGBP. Government said no problem. If I want 70% of receipt as PGBP, government says no problem, of course. We are saying 50%, but you are honest enough to pay, or if you are honest enough and you are saying that only 30% I want to claim as an expenditure, government says no problem. So higher income, if assessee wants, can declare. But higher income does not mean that if someone is having a receipt of more than 50 lakh, that person can come here. No. Higher income is more than 50% of receipt. If you are willing to show the percentage is more than 50%, then you are covered here. But total receipt must not exceed 50 lakh. It is also optional section. It is not compulsory. It is the optional section to apply. You are under no compulsion to apply it. If you are following normal provision, that is also fine. Optional section to apply. Here also, no further deduction is allowed. No further deduction is allowed. When you have computed 50% as PGBP, when you have computed your PGBP as 50% of receipt, then from this 50%, don't ask for any other deduction. It will become flat PGBP income. Any further means even a partnership firm cannot claim interest paid to partners or salary paid to partners. No, that is also not allowed. So no means no. No means no. If this basically is a famous dialogue from one movie. Do you know that? Which movie is that? I forgot the name. That is very good movie on women's. Right. Which movie?
Pink.
Pink, yes. Have you seen the movie Pink? Raise your hand, those who have seen the movie Pink. Those who have not seen this movie, raise your hands. Those who have not seen it, see it today itself. It is a very good movie. I think it is available on YouTube also. Try to find time to see it today itself. You will get a very good message of this movie. Anyhow, so no means no. One poem is also there at the end of this movie, and that is very good. Every male as well as every female must find time to watch this movie. Let us discuss in numerical now. From my book, page 6.39. Now, let us discuss an example. Dr. Khan assesses Dr. Khan, a resident person, a cardiologist. So that means medical practitioner. So that means this is a profession which is notified. This is a profession which is notified under section 44AA. It is a notified profession under 44AA, and he has given the following records. He has said that the fee which he has received from his patient is 40 lakh, less expense, rent of clinic, let us say 6 lakh, salary to staff, for example, 4 lakh 60, and electricity bills, suppose 2 lakh 40, total becomes 13 lakh, and this is the professional income, PGBP. PGBP doesn't mean only business, it has profession also. So it's not that I cannot write PGBP word when I'm saying something about profession. I can write it 27 lakh. Again, you are a tax consultant and Dr. Khan is seeking your advice. If he is saying that his income from other source is also 14 lakh, he is seeking your advice that what he should do. He has no idea about 44 ADA, but you have, being a tax practitioner. So what question you will ask to yourself? Now, what is the solution? Basically, you have to compute total income. Less total income means less tax. So you are computing total income of Dr. Khan. For the assessment year 2021-22. Entire game is to compute PGBP, that's it. You have to compute PGBP, and your question, the question which comes in your mind is 27 lakh correct, or I can show less? But before saying that 27 lakh is normal PGBP income, you must check that fees, yes. Rent is valid as per IT Act, salary to employees is valid as per IT Act, electricity bills are valid as per IT Act. If I am saying IT Act, that means you have read the provisions of PGBP. So first of all, don't trust this P&L account which has been given by Dr. Khan. First, you satisfy yourself that what is the income? What is the income as per normal provision? What is the income as per normal provision? If I'm saying income, I'm talking about only PGBP for the time being. I'm talking about only PGBP income for the time being. Then what is the PGBP income as per normal provision? When I read the entire PGBP, I found that 27 lakh is correctly calculated by Dr. Khan. Otherwise, this P&L account has no relevance to me as an income tax expert. I have first satisfied myself that yes, fees received is income, rent paid for the clinic is an expenditure, salary to the compounder or nursing staff is an expenditure, electricity bill of the clinic is an expenditure. So once I have satisfied this, once I have satisfied myself that yes, these expenses are valid expenses as per the provisions of section 30 to 35, 36, 37, they have met the conditions of 40 clause A, 40 close B, 40 capital A, 43B, then I will say that yes, 27 lakh is the normal PGBP income. Then since I'm having tax expertise, I know that Dr. Khan can also avail 44A, 44ADA. So now I will do one more thing, that I will compute PGBP income as per the provisions of section 44ADA. So what conditions I have checked? That yes, Dr. Khan is a resident individual, profession is notified, gross receipt does not exceed 50 lakh, that's it. If this is the case, I can directly advise Dr. Khan that why to pay 27 lakh, because our provision says 50% of receipt directly can be taken as PGBP. So which option is better? ADA. In the previous question, normal provision was better, and now in this case, special provision is better. So I will advise Dr. Khan that apply 44ADA. And in 44ADA, there is no such restriction that if today you apply 44ADA, in next 5 years you have to apply 44ADA. There is no such restriction. On yearly basis, I can take a decision. If today I am applying 44ADA, next year I am not interested in applying 44ADA, there is no problem. On yearly basis, I can take a decision. This is PGBP, and other sources 14 lakh, GTI 34 lakh, no deductions in the question. So total income is 34 lakh. That's it. Please raise your hand if 44ADA is also clear. Okay, so that's all from my side. Let us wind up this lecture now. We have covered today two presumptive taxation sections, 44AD and 44ADA. So that's all. Goodbye.